Welcome to Nigeria, the only country in Africa that is fighting against the liberation of the African continent. The only country that is against the liberation of the African continent.
As this breaking news comes in, Jackson.
Welcome to Nigeria, a country that cannot solve its problem, insecurity issues, but choose to send their air force to another African country to fight them because they want to liberate their people from the French colony. Welcome to Nigeria, a country known for its eye service, banditry everywhere, insecurity everywhere, kidnappings everywhere. They cannot send their efforts to those bushes to attack them, but they choose to quickly intervene. Coup that they have foiled, according to the news I'm getting as of today, 8th of December 2025. Welcome to Nigeria, where illegality, injustice, lies has become a normal thing in Nigeria. Welcome to Nigeria, where kidnappers are now celebrities, where Fulani herdsmen, bandits are now celebrities in Nigeria. Welcome to Nigeria, my people. This is Nigeria for you.
A sixth bombing raid by foreign air forces on little Benin and its beautiful capital city. Doesn't sound to me like the coup is over. What do you think?
Well, thanks for having me back on. Yes, this was a really shocking day. We woke up this morning with the news that there was a coup underway in the country of Benin, the coastal country of Benin, which is extremely important to the rest of the Sahel Alliance states, the AES states, Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger, because it would give them unimpeded access to a major port in the Sahel area. So this was shocking to me. I don't really know what to make of this coup that took place in the early morning hours, because sometimes these African coups take place, but it's actually the French that are backing these coups and they want to shift around the leaders. But it appears as though this was an entirely real sovereign effort led by the Lieutenant Colonel Tigri in Benin. And within a few short hours, we had the airwaves, the national TV broadcast airwaves, taken over by the coup leaders. There was about 13 men that led this effort, all of the military. And not too long after that, we received all of these French-based reports from AFP and other French outlets saying that the coup was over. And that was in the very early morning hours. Again, I want to stress that. That was a long time ago. They claimed the coup was over. Everyone had been arrested. Some people were even saying that these coup d'etat leaders had been killed in the clashes that were ongoing in the capital city. That turned out to be a bunch of lies because, as you just said, there were 6 airstrikes in the capital, at least 6 bombs that went off. Local sources are saying that it sounded quite clearly like airstrikes, and it would make sense because not only has there been a French surveillance aircraft above the capital city in Benin all day, but there were 3 Nigerian aircraft that entered into the country and were circling over the capital city during the time in which these loud explosions took place. I would presume that they were trying to locate and then target the coup leaders. Some were saying that these coup leaders were on the run. Again, some were saying they were arrested, and some of the other ones were on the run. What we do know is that the Lieutenant Colonel Tigri, who led the effort, was not arrested in the early morning hours. He made a statement late in the afternoon saying that he demanded the supporters of the coup to get out in the streets and protest against the French-backed president. And a lot of people did do that. So it's very, very disheartening to see that Nigeria is taking their dictates from a random white guy in Europe who has an approval rating of like 5% amongst his own population. And they're doing his bidding by now going and airstriking, presumably, innocent people that are just fighting for their sovereignty in another African nation. We also saw today that ECOWAS, which is an imperialist tool in Africa, and the African Union, another imperialist tool, both condemned this coup effort. But I fully stand by it, and I hope for the best. I hope that they make it out alive, and I hope that they are able to assert sovereignty in Benin once more.
And of course, the puppet president has not been seen, has he? Not a still, not a video, not a word on the radio. That doesn't sound like someone who's firmly in power, does it?
Of course not. It sounds like he's trapped like a rat somewhere in the capital city. Whether he's trapped by his own security forces or whether he's trapped by the coup leaders, I guess, is yet to be determined. But you would think that if this coup failed and everyone was arrested, you would have at least someone from his administration who would have come out on national television and said that simple fact, given a statement. But all that we saw was the interior minister from the Talon government, who's the former or current president, depending on how you look at the situation. He went out on private TV airwaves, not the national syndicate that was taken over in the morning by the coup leaders, and he gave a statement. And as for the president, you're correct. No one knows where he is. No one has seen him. There hasn't been any phone calls from him, any media appearances, any videos, nothing whatsoever. So I guess we're still waiting for the answers on that.
And what do you make of this, Tinubu? The Nigerian armed forces are being offered help from Donald Trump. So difficult are they finding it to protect their own people from ISIS and its chapter there, Boko Haram. So the Nigerian military can be spared to go and attack their neighbor, but they can't keep peace and stop ISIS in their own country. What kind of president is that?
Well, it's a good question. I mean, Tinubu has very long-standing ties in the United States. Max Blumenthal and David Hundeyin, who's the latter is a Nigerian journalist, very famous, did a brilliant piece on Tinubu in the Gray Zone. Everyone should read it, about Tinubu's ties to cocaine trafficking networks in Chicago in his earlier years. So this is the type of guy that we're dealing with, in bed with the CIA, in bed with all these drug narco trafficking units. But of course, the West backs up the real narco terrorists like Tinubu, who, as you point out, are ignoring, I would say, the assault on their sovereignty by Western-backed terrorists like Boko Haram. Also now, JNIM, another terrorist organization linked with Al-Qaeda, has also entered into Nigeria. They have been causing a lot of chaos in Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger the past few years. And what is the goal here? Well, the goal is to try and take as many of the resource-rich regions in these countries, in particular in Nigeria, and the U.S. will cry foul. They'll say that Christians are being genocided, even though Christians and Muslims are being killed in both very high rates. Actually, far more Muslims are being killed than Christians in Nigeria. And then Eric Prince or some other private military contractor will get to send in their mercenaries to Nigeria, and they will take up all of the resource-rich land, the mineral-rich land, the gold-rich land in Nigeria, and illegally steal all of the resources. As for the question of why can't he do anything about this threat in his own country, in Nigeria, but he launches all these airstrikes or these planes in Benin the moment there's a coup, there's a simple answer for that. President Macron of France gave a call to Tinubu today under the guise that there was a new offensive led by the Boko Haram terrorists in Nigeria. He made an emergency call, and apparently it wasn't about Boko Haram, because if it was, I'd imagine those fighter jets would have been used to do targeted airstrikes, hopefully on the terrorists, but instead they were used to go into violate the sovereign airspace of Benin and presumably strike the coup leaders.
Now, as you mentioned, Narco Rubio and his administration are again steaming towards Venezuela. The Dwight D. Eisenhower aircraft carrier has withdrawn from port in the last few hours and begun steaming towards the Caribbean. The shills of Narco Rubio are trumpeting that it's on, that Operation Southern Spear against Venezuela is on. Is that your take? And what's likely to happen next?
Well, I'll just say it's incredible. Lara Logan, who is a Trump insider, very close with all the Trump administration bigwigs, is, as you just said, tweeting out that Operation Southern Spear is on. This is the U.S. Illegal war that they've been drumming up for months now, or 7-8 weeks now at least. And tomorrow in Caracas, I believe, because what is today? Is today the 7th or the 8th? So it's on the 9th and the 10th. We're going to see about 5,000 to 6,000 people from all across the world standing in unison with the Venezuelan people travel to Caracas and participate in 2 days of major events to try and voice their opposition for this illegal war, which is a total sham if it's being under the guise of combating narco-terrorism for many reasons. But of course, the biggest and most recent reason of all is Trump just pardoned Juan Hernandez, the former president of Honduras, who is sitting in a U.S. prison cell for the next 45 years as a result of his involvement and directing of a massive narco network out of Honduras while he was president. So I can't believe that they would begin this operation right now at a time when 5,000 to 6,000 people from all across the world are going to be there. I wish I was there with all of them right now. I wish I was in Caracas. I know we have some mutual friends that are there, and all I got to say is I'm praying for everyone's safety, the Venezuelans and those who are traveling there in defiance of the U.S. war hawks.
Well, that's two big enchiladas. Let's go to the biggest of the enchiladas, the current state of affairs in the NATO-Russia war. I've been listening all day to Donald Trump Jr., for example, who's a remarkably eloquent critic of the Ukraine. He said, and I quote, Ukraine is fantastically more corrupt country than Russia. I've been listening to Tucker Carlson saying he hopes to go back to Russia because the last time he was there, I can only describe it as magnificent. The statement even of General Kellogg, who's on his way out, all seem to indicate that the Americans are going full steam ahead to get a framework to bring the war to an end. Meanwhile, the yapping and deeply unpopular dogs of war in the European Union bark pointlessly away. That's the optimistic outlook, and I happen to share it. What do you think?
Well, I'll first say that the I guess early departure of General Keith Kellogg is something that I am very happy to see, and I think it's a strong indication that we're headed the right way with regard to settling this madness with Russia. Before Trump was elected and before General Keith Kellogg was promised a seat at the table in these Ukraine negotiations, I read his book on what an America First Trump policy would look like with regard to Ukraine. And it was as bad as I read it several months ago or a year ago now, back then, as we all see it today. You know, it's not really a plan for peace. This was a plan for escalation. And at the time, I contacted the few Trump officials that I knew, people who I presume would be in the administration, and made a strong case that he not be hired. So I think this is the 100% correct direction. I'm labeled as a Russian puppet. You're labeled as a Russian puppet. So what that really means is we tell the truth about what's going on. And if our enemies like Kellogg are on the way out, that's a good thing. As for the military front, you said it better than anyone else a few moments ago. Every single part of the front line is going in Russia's direction right now, and it's not by any small margins. The Russians in Zaporozhye are collecting about 100 square kilometers each and every week, and that's just a small part of the front. You look at what's happening in the Kramatorsk-Slavyan salient, it's forming into a semi-encirclement of the last major Ukrainian defensive and the largest Ukrainian defensive position that they have in Donetsk. And even in the north, in the Kharkov region, you see the Russians moving forward, which looks like they're going to collapse all the way over to Izium, moving even west of the Oskol River. So this is a very, very difficult situation for the Ukrainians. And I would not be surprised if Zelensky is going to be on his way out very soon. I don't know where he'll go, maybe Israel, maybe Miami, if Trump is gracious enough. But I really can't imagine that he's going to last too much longer, because the cards are all falling and none of them are in Zelensky's favor. I am worried about who they're going to try to replace him with. This Zelensky character that London is propping up is talking about nukes for Ukraine, NATO for Ukraine, all the same old stories. And I think we need to have real elections in what remains of Ukraine. It can't be London propping up another war hawk. But for everyone who thinks that this is going to end with some negotiation, I think that you're missing the big picture here. This war is already coming to a close, and it's with a Russian victory.
And of course, the analysis that we have consistently made, which got us branded and labeled, is now the analysis of the New York Times this day. It's the analysis of The Economist, the Financial Times, even the Telegraph, even the London Times. So they've caught up with us. I suppose we should sing hallelujah, but it would be nice to get an apology, wouldn't it, Jackson?
Well, look, our only crime was that we were 4 years too early to the truth, and being 4 years too early to the truth does not get you $30 million investment deals like Pierce Morgan, I guess, is now vying for. So that's the price we pay. But I think you are as happy as I am that we pay that price and we don't sacrifice our spine in the process.
Absolutely. That's Piers Morgan has valued his show at 115 million pounds sterling. So that's what, 130, 140 million US dollars. And he's trying to raise 30 million to market his show more. I'm on the lookout for someone that would do that too, Jackson. If you ever come into money, son, I'd love to go into business with you. Thanks very much, as always, for your expert analysis. A man so young and yet so wise.
Nigeria import terrorists from all over the world. Right now, there are more than 5 terrorist groups that operate in the country today. Ansaru is in Nigeria. El-Shabaab is in Nigeria. Mieti Allah operates in Nigeria. Fulani bandits operate in Nigeria. Fulani herders that have been named the 4th deadliest terrorist group in the world by the Global Terrorist Watch of West Africa. These terrorist groups operate in Nigeria, and the government of Nigeria provides an enabling environment for them to thrive, for them to do their bidding. They provide them with logistics, money, arms, and then they send them to the eastern region of Nigeria to kill my people and to destabilize the region. That is their goal, and that's exactly what they're doing now.